He wore a hoodie, not a suit. He drove a Bentley, but alone, no driver, no bodyguard. Just a quiet black man cruising through a neighborhood of manicured lawns and silent suspicion. But to one white police officer, that was enough. Enough to hit the lights. Enough to call for backup. Enough to slap on handcuffs without a single crime committed. The man's name? Marcus Hill. The world knew him as a tech billionaire. But that officer? He didn't see a billionaire. He didn't see the owner of half the street. He didn't see the man who paid for the community's youth centers, the man who donated millions to rebuild schools and create tech programs for underprivileged kids. He didn't see the man whose real estate company literally owned the land beneath the police substation. All he saw was a black man in a Bentley in the wrong neighborhood. So he pulled him over, accused him of stealing his own car, ignored the license, ignored the registration, ignored the calm explanations. And when Marcus refused to get out of his vehicle without a supervisor present, he was dragged out, slammed on the hood, and arrested right there, in front of the bakery whose rent Marcus's company collected every month. He was handcuffed, humiliated, labeled suspicious. But what happened next? That shook the entire city. Because the man they tried to silence had more power, more money, and more justice on his side than they ever expected. And this wasn't just another wrongful arrest. This became a national headline, a social media firestorm, and a turning point in a system built on assumptions. Marcus Hill didn't look like your average billionaire. He preferred hoodies over tailored suits, sneakers over leather shoes, and peace over public attention. His company, Hill Tech Dynamics, quietly powered half the nation's logistics AI infrastructure. And with his billions, he didn't build a mansion far from people. He reinvested in the very neighborhood society had long ignored. But that morning, as he drove his Bentley through West Haven, a suburb where his real estate firm had restored buildings, funded schools, and even leased space to the police substation, he was just a black man behind the wheel. And to Officer Bradley, that was reason enough to act. The officer didn't start with good morning. He started with assumption. Whose car is this? Where are you coming from? Do you live around here? Marcus didn't flinch. He'd been here before. Not this exact corner, maybe, but in this exact situation. He handed over his license and registration. It all matched, but it wasn't enough. The questions kept coming. His tone stayed calm. He explained he was a property owner in the area. He even mentioned he had a meeting nearby to check progress on a commercial renovation project. Still, Bradley asked him to step out of the vehicle. Marcus knew his rights. Am I being detained? He asked. Am I under arrest? Officer Bradley didn't answer. Instead, he called for backup. 3 minutes later, 2 more patrol cars pulled up. Officers surrounded Marcus's car. One placed a hand on his holster. Neighbors began peeking through windows. A woman across the street started recording. And then it happened. Despite the valid documents, the calm demeanor, the complete lack of any legal reason, Officer Bradley ordered Marcus out. And when he hesitated, politely asking for a supervisor instead, they opened the door and yanked him out. He didn't fight. He didn't resist. But that didn't stop them from slamming him against his own hood. They patted him down roughly, searching for something, anything that could justify what they were doing. But there was nothing, just a black man, with dignity, in the wrong place, according to them. A bystander's phone captured it all. The heavy breathing, the zip of the cuffs, the silence in Marcus's eyes as he stared at the sidewalk he'd helped fund through his own nonprofit. For a moment, he wasn't Marcus Hill, billionaire. He wasn't the man who had once spoken at MIT, or the tech genius Forbes had profiled for revolutionizing logistics. He was just another suspect in America, another name without a voice. And as they drove him away, none of the officers knew the weight of their mistake. They hadn't arrested a criminal. They'd arrested the man who literally owned the building their precinct sat in. By the time Marcus Hill was processed at the West Haven precinct, his name had already started trending. Within hours, the cell phone footage taken by the bystander had spread across TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Millions watched as a calm, composed black man was dragged out of a luxury car and cuffed like a criminal for nothing more than daring to exist while successful. The hashtags hit hard. Hashtag driving while black. Hashtag Marcus Hill. Hashtag own the block. At first, the police department said nothing. Their statement came hours later, full of hollow phrases. Following procedure, officer safety, unidentified suspicious behavior. But the internet didn't forget, and neither did the truth. A local journalist named Tasha Browning dug deeper. Within 24 hours, she uncovered what the officers clearly hadn't bothered to learn. That Marcus Hill was not only a billionaire tech CEO, but also the property owner of the very block where he was arrested. The bakery, his tenant. The community center down the street, built with his donation. The police substation, where Officer Bradley had clocked in that morning, leased from Marcus's real estate firm. The outrage went nuclear. News anchors couldn't stop repeating it. Police arrest a billionaire they thought was a car thief. Turns out he owns their building. But Marcus didn't rush to cameras. He didn't post online. He waited. Then, 2 days later, he held a press conference, dressed sharply in a navy suit, standing at a podium outside the same station that had humiliated him. The city had no choice but to listen. He spoke slowly, calmly, powerfully. I wasn't arrested because I did something wrong. I was arrested because I didn't look like someone who belonged. And that's the problem. I can buy this building. I can fund your community. But I still can't drive through it without being treated like a threat. There was no anger in his voice, just truth. And sometimes, the truth hits harder than rage. He announced the launch of a new initiative, a $20 million legal fund to defend people of color from wrongful arrests and profiling. He called for mandatory racial bias training in every precinct his firm rented property in. He said every city that benefited from his investment must now meet new standards of justice. And he didn't stop there. He exposed Officer Bradley's record. 6 previous racial complaints, all quietly dismissed. With pressure mounting, the department fired him. A civil rights probe was launched into the entire West Haven police force. Marcus had the money to fight back. But more importantly, he had the platform to make change. And when asked why he didn't sue the department into the ground, he said, "Because this story isn't just about me. It's about the people who never got cameras, never got headlines, and never got justice. I already had a voice. Now I'm using it for those who don't. If this story moved you, don't stay silent. Share it. Speak up against racial profiling. Support justice reform and those fighting for equality." One man's arrest revealed a broken system. Let's not wait for the next headline, because silence protects the powerful, and your voice might protect the next Marcus.